Welcome to a deep dive where we take your source material and explore its fascinating core.
Yeah, looking forward to this one.
Today, we're plunging into a foundational piece of science fiction. A story that really launched a whole genre. H.G. Wells' The Time Machine.
That's right. And we've got some great source texts here, excerpts,
hmm
covering the absolute beginning, the radical idea itself,
Right.
through the time traveler's incredible and honestly pretty harrowing journey into the far, far distant future,
hmm
and then his eventual return.
So, our mission with this material really is to unpack that scientific idea Wells was playing with,
Mm-hmm.
to explore the strange and frankly unsettling world the time traveler discovered,
Definitely unsettling.
and really dig into the implications of his journey. And it's all drawn directly from the text you provided.
Okay, so let's dive right in.
Yeah.
That foundational concept Wells introduces. It starts with the time traveler explaining something pretty familiar to his guests, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's talking about space as we understand it, the three dimensions: length, breadth, and thickness.
Basics.
Yeah, the basics. He points out, we define any position by reference to three planes at right angles to each other. Feels pretty straightforward.
But then he hits them with the provocative question,
hmm
the one some philosophical people had apparently been asking.
Which is?
Why three dimensions particularly? Why not a fourth direction? Also at right angles to the first three.
Ah, okay. And the idea you could even construct a four-dimensional geometry from that.
Exactly. And he actually mentions Professor Simon Newcomb,
Right, I saw that name.
who was apparently talking about this kind of four-dimensional geometry not long before, to the New York Mathematical Society.
And the concept is, it's like how you can draw a 3D cube on a flat 2D piece of paper.
Precisely. So maybe, just maybe,
Mhm.
you could represent a four-dimensional object using three-dimensional models, if you could just get the
Mhm.
perspective right.
It's taking these really abstract mathematical ideas and suggesting, hang on, maybe these aren't just theory. Maybe they describe a real physical thing we just don't usually see.
And the time traveler reveals, yeah, he's been working on this geometry of four dimensions himself for quite some time, actually.
And he got some. Well, the text says curious results. Okay, this is where it gets really good for the story.
This is the hook.
Yeah. He uses this analogy, seeing portraits of a guy at different ages, 8, 15, 17, 23, whatever. And he suggests these aren't just separate pictures, they're three-dimensional representations of his four-dimensioned being, which is a fixed and unalterable thing.
Right. So what he's saying, essentially, is that your entire life, birth to death, is like one single object existing in four dimensions.
Wow.
And what we experience as life, as time passing, is just us perceiving different cross-sections of that four-dimensional object along the time axis.
So time itself is the fourth dimension.
That's the radical idea Wells is laying out.
Yeah.
A dimension you could maybe move along, like moving left or right.
Okay, that's a mind bender, especially for the late 1800s. How do the dinner guests take this? Not, well, I'm guessing.
Predictably, yeah.
Yeah.
Skepticism all around.
Yeah.
Philby immediately jumps in, oh, this is all.
Up against reason, that's what he says.
And the time traveler, he's very calm, just pushes back. What reason?
Good point.
You can argue theory all day, but proving it,
Yeah.
that's different. He insists this time dimension idea is what his four-dimensional geometry work is all about. He says he's had a vague inkling of a machine.
And the very young man, he connects the dots instantly to travel through time.
That's the huge claim, the unbelievable bit. A machine that can travel indifferently in any direction of space and time as the driver determines.
Sylvie just laughs at that, right? Thinks it's absurd.
Completely absurd. But the time traveler, he doubles down. He says, I have experimental verification.
Ah, okay. This is where the model comes in.
Yeah, exactly. He brings out this little model machine. Describe it. The narrator says it looks singularly askew, sort of lopsided.
Yeah, and it has this odd twinkling appearance, especially this one bar. Like it's shimmering, not quite solid.
Yeah, unreal. And it's got these little lavers, ivory and brass.
And he doesn't even push the lever himself, which is interesting. He gets the psychologist to do it.
Right. The psychologist presses the lever.
Yeah.
And bam. Instantaneous.
Mm.
Dramatic.
Mm.
There's this breath of wind. The lamp flame jumps. A candle blows out.
Whoa.
And the little machine, it suddenly swung round, became indistinct, was seen as a ghost for a second, perhaps, and was gone. Vanished.
Vanished. Just poof. The guests must have freaked out.
Stunned. disbelieving. The editor calls it a mere paradox, basically impossible.
But the time traveler's cool as a cucumber.
Totally unfazed, just stoops to light his pipe and calmly tells them, I have a big machine nearly finished, and when that is put together, I mean to have a journey on my own account.
He's not kidding around. He's actually built it.
He's dead serious.
This sparks more debate, obviously. Where did the model go? Philby suggests past or future.
And the psychologist has this moment, this flash of insight. It must have gone into the past if it has gone anywhere.
Why the past?
His logic is, look, if it went into the future, it would still have to be right here now, wouldn't it? It had to pass through this moment to get to the future. So if we don't see it, it can't be in the future.
Okay, interesting point. But then the narrator raises the serious objection, as the mayor calls
Yeah,
it.
it's a big plot hole question.
Right. If it went into the past, why didn't we see it last week? Or the week before? Shouldn't it have been sitting here all along?
And the time traveler actually turns back to the psychologist, almost like, go on, you explain it. He says, you think. You can explain that. It's presentation below the threshold, diluted presentation.
Diluted presentation.
The psychologist seems okay with this idea, calls it a simple point of psychology. He uses an analogy.
What's the analogy?
He says, we cannot see it any more than we can the spoke of a wheel spinning or a bullet flying through the air.
Ah, okay. So if the machine is whizzing through time like 100 times faster than we are.
Exactly. Its presence in any single moment is so brief, so diluted, it just doesn't register on our senses. It's there, but effectively invisible.
That's actually pretty clever. Wells heading off a major paradox right there.
Yeah, using a plausible-sounding explanation within the story's own rules.
Yeah.
And the time traveler leaves them in no doubt. He is absolutely serious about using the big machine to explore time.
And explore he does. Because the next Thursday, when the narrator and the others show up for dinner, no time traveling.
Right. He's unavoidably detained, the note says.
But then he stumbles in later that evening, and he's in what the narrator calls an amazing plight.
Yeah, describe that state. He's a mess.
His coat's dusty and dirty, got green stuff smeared on it. His hair is wild, looks grayer. His face is ghastly pale. There's a brown cut on his chin.
Haggard. Limping, too.
Totally haggard and, yeah, limping. He's clearly exhausted, nearly worn out.
And the first thing he wants, after checking some champagne, is food. Real food.
He actually says, what a treat it is to stick a fork into meat again, which is ominous foreshadowing, maybe.
Definitely hints at what's to come. He tells them he's lived 8 days, such days as no human being ever lived before.
And he knows they won't believe him. He says, look, my story's true, but just listen, don't interrupt.
And they agree. So he starts describing the journey itself.
He says the feeling, the sensation of time traveling, excessively unpleasant.
Not exactly a smooth ride, then.
No, like a switchback, he says, but with this helpless headlong motion and constant horrible anticipation of an imminent smash, just waiting for impact.
Sounds awful. And the visual.
Incredible. As he speeds up, day and night just flat past like the turning out of a lamp. The sun becomes a blur, hopping swiftly across the sky, leaping at every minute. The moon spins through its phases. Stars are just streaks, until it all merges into this one continuous grayness.
And the world below him is changing too.
Yeah, the familiar lab fades away. He sees scaffolding go up and down, then great and splendid architecture rising. The landscape gets greener, richer green. He's moving forward fast.
But there's a massive risk in stopping, right? He figures this out mid-journey.
A terrifying risk. He realizes stopping means jamming of myself molecule by molecule into whatever lay in my way at that exact point in time and space.
Ouch.
Yeah. He thinks it could cause a profound chemical reaction, possibly a far-reaching explosion, this inevitable danger, plus the violent motion. He panics.
So he slams on the brakes, basically.
Like an impatient fool, his words, pulls the lever hard, the machine spins, goes reeling over. He gets slung headlong through the air, smacks his chin as the machine crashes down on its side.
A rough landing. And where or when does he land?
He arrives in the middle of a sudden violent thunderstorm, hailstones bouncing everywhere. But it clears almost instantly to this intense blue sky.
And he sees huge buildings gleaming. He feels totally exposed, naked in a strange world.
Yeah.
Pure panic fear.
But then he sees them. The inhabitants.
The Eloi.
Right. He calls them exquisite creatures, pretty little people. A group comes up, making these soft cooing notes. They touch him gently, checking if he's real.
Curious, but not scary.
Not scary at all. In fact, he thinks they look so incredibly frail he could fling the whole dozen.
Yeah.
About like 9 pins.
Smart move. He takes the levers off the machine right away.
Very smart. Puts them in his pocket. His first attempts to communicate, though, not so successful.
How so?
He points at the machine, then the sun, trying to say, I came from there. But one of them mimics thunder. He realizes they think he just, like, fell out of the sky during the storm.
Uh-huh. Okay. And this is where the disappointment kicks in.
Big time. His flow of disappointment, he expected, well, gods, basically. Intellectual giants from the far future.
And instead?
He finds these beautiful but simple creatures. Intellectually, he says they're like 5-year-old children.
Wow. Quite the contrast to his expectations.
Totally. Their physical frailty, their simple, childlike ways. It's the opposite of the profoundly grave and intellectual posterity he imagined. Wells is already messing with expectations here. Progress might not mean smarter or stronger in the way we think.
That's a key theme, isn't it? Despite his disappointment, they're nice to him.
Oh, yeah. They shower him with these beautiful, strange flowers. Then they lead him towards this vast gray edifice of fretted stone, passing a big white marble sphinx on the way.
The Sphinx. Important landmark.
Very. Inside the building, it's this proportionately great hall, hung with faded brown tapestries, shadowed roof, windows partly colored glass, partly just open.
And the floor.
Worn white metal blocks. There are stone tables with piles of fruit. That seems to be all they eat.
Just fruit. Strict vegetarians.
Yep. He mentioned some familiar-ish ones, like a huge raspberry and orange, but mostly strange stuff. Cushions scattered everywhere for them to lounge on.
And he notices no animals, like pets or livestock.
None. Horses, cattle, sheep, dogs had followed the ichthyosaurus into extinction. Just the Eloi in the fruit. There's one particular 3-sided fruit, kind of flowery, that he ends up eating a lot.
But the place isn't exactly pristine, is it?
No, that's a key detail. It has a dilapidated look. Broken stained glass, dusty curtains, a chipped marble table. It's grand, but decaying. Hints that this isn't quite a perfect utopia.
And trying to talk to them, learn their language.
He tries really hard. Gestures, pointing. He calls it slow work. Mostly they just stare or laugh. He learns maybe a score of nouns, pronouns, the verb to eat. But they lose interest really fast.
What does he make of their personality, their nature?
A lack of interest. That's the main thing. Easily tired, indolent. They get excited like kids when they first see him, but then just wander off. No real curiosity about him or where he came from.
He admits he started to disregard them pretty quickly. Maybe a bit arrogant on his part.
Probably. He starts exploring more. Sees the Thames River has moved miles from where it should be. Decides he needs a better view. Plans to climb a hill to survey the planet in... What was the date again?
802,701 AD. A nice round number.
Right. And it's in this, like, beautiful, peaceful-seeming world that things start getting weird.
Yeah.
He realizes the simple, balanced society isn't the whole picture.
This is where the other shoe drops.
Definitely. He starts seeing things. At night, strange white figures that vanish in daylight.
Spooky. What does he think they are?
Ghosts, maybe? He mentions a writer, Grant Allen, who had this idea about the world eventually getting overcrowded with ghosts. He also connects them to a white animal he startled earlier. Just unsettling glimpses.
But the real gut punch comes when he goes back for his machine.
Yeah. He goes back to the white Sphinx pedestal where he left it, and it's gone.
Oh no, panic time.
Absolute panic. He describes running violently in and out among the moonlit bushes, just frantically searching, beating the bushes with his fists till his knuckles are gashed and bleeding.
Desperate. Does he ask the Eloi?
He runs to the Great Hall, finds them sleeping, tries to wake them, shake them, ask, where's my time machine? But they're just baffled by his fear, his urgency. He realizes showing fear is pointless, maybe dangerous.
So how does he figure out where it is?
It takes a mental effort, he says. But he deduces it must be inside that pedestal, under the Sphinx.
Okay. So he asks the Eloi to open it.
Tries to, but their reaction is just horror and repugnance. Like he suggested something obscene, a terrible tagu. They shrink away, which just makes him angry.
So he tries to break in himself.
Hammers on the bronze panels with a rock, scrapes off the green coating, but nothing gives. He thinks he hears a chuckle inside.
Oh.
Which he later figures must have been the Morlocks.
The Morlocks, right. So he's stuck, machine locked away. What does he do?
He sits down, exhausted, frustrated, but his mind starts working. He decides, okay, I gotta face this world, learn its ways, watch it. Can't just fixate on the machine. He actually laughs at himself, caught in the most complicated and the most hopeless trap.
A grim kind of humor.
Mm-hmm.
He also reflects on how little he understands the mechanics of this future world, right?
Yeah, compared to utopian novels full of detailed explanations, he knows very little of drains and bells and modes of conveyance. He feels like someone from, his words, Central Africa, trying to describe London, just getting a vague general impression of automatic organization. The details are beyond him.
But amidst all this confusion and fear, there's one connection he makes.
Weena.
Weena. Tell us about her.
She's one of the Eloi, a little girl who becomes totally attached to him. Unlike the others, she's exactly like a child, wants to be with him constantly, follows him everywhere.
But a comfort for him.
A great comfort, he says, but also trouble, because she gets so distressed if he leaves her. He admits, sadly, he didn't realize how much he meant to her until too late.
Right, so the mystery of the white figures, the missing machine, it starts to click when he investigates one of the wells.
Exactly. These wells, or shafts, dot the landscape. He looks down one and sees something looking back up. A bleached, obscene, nocturnal thing. And suddenly, the truth dawned. Total clarity. Horrifying clarity.
That's the truth.
Man hadn't stayed one species. He differentiated into two distinct animals, the Eloi on the surface and this underground thing, both descendants of humans like us.
Wow. Two species, so the wells.
They lead underground, the ventilation towers he'd seen too. It all fits. The white figures he saw at night, they were the underground dwellers.
Morlocks.
The Morlocks. His theory forms. They're subterranean. That explains the bleached look, the large eyes that reflect light like cats, the confusion in the sunshine. It all points to a long-continued underground habit.
So, driven by the need to get his machine back, he goes down there.
He does, overcomes his fear and disgust, and climbs down one of the shafts into the darkness.
What's it like down there?
The air is stuffy and oppressive, and there's a smell, faint halitus of freshly shed blood. Oh, that's not good.
Not good at all. He sees great shapes like big machines, machinery still working after all this time,
Yeah.
and grotesque black shadows where dim spectral Morlocks hide from his light.
And then he finds evidence of their diet.
Yeah. A little table of white metal, set like for a meal.
Yeah.
And on it, a red joint.
Neat.
Meat. His immediate thought is the Morlocks, at any rate, were carnivorous. He wonders what large animal they hunt. But the truly horrible realization comes later.
What is it?
Their meat. It's the Eloi.
No.
Yes, these Eloi were mere fatted cattle, which the ant-like Morlocks preserved and preyed upon, probably saw to the breeding of.
Oh my God. That's horrific. The beautiful surface people are livestock for the underground workers.
It's Wells's brutal social commentary laid bare, isn't it? The ultimate, terrifying outcome of class division. The pampered upper class literally consumed by the subterranean working class.
Chilling. Absolutely chilling. And the time traveler realizes how unprepared he is.
Totally unprepared. His absurd assumption about future humanity being advanced and friendly, shattered. No weapons, no medicine, hardly any matches left. He wishes he had a Kodak camera. All he has are his hands, feet, and teeth. And 4 matches.
And he needs those matches immediately, doesn't he?
Right away. He gets grabbed by persistent fingers in the dark. He manages to strike a match, waves it in their dazzled faces.
What do they look like up close?
He describes them as nauseatingly inhuman. Pale, chinless faces and great, lidless, pinkish gray eyes. They recoil from the light, their eyes glowing red in the shadows.
Just a few matches left.
Yeah, as they burn out, he has this desperate struggle to climb back up the shaft. They're grabbing at his feet. He uses his very last match just as he reaches the top, fighting them off until he scrambles out.
Whew, barely escaped. So back on the surface, he knows he needs protection.
Absolutely. Refuge, weapons. His mind immediately goes to practicalities. Find arms of metal or stone, and crucially, means of fire. A torch, he thinks, would be the perfect weapon against the light-hating Morlocks.
And he still needs to get into the Sphinx pedestal.
Right. Needs a contrivance to break open the doors of bronze. He's thinking maybe a battering ram. And incredibly, he still plans to rescue Weena and take her back with him.
Where does he think he can find these things?
He remembers that big ruined building, the Palace of Green Porcelain. Looked like it might be a museum. Maybe something useful survived there.
So he heads there. It is made of porcelain.
Yeah, green porcelain. Weird inscription he can't read. Inside, it's long gallery, thick with dust. Clearly a museum. He sees huge skeletons. Megatherium, Brontosaurus, It confirms it was the paleontological section, Hall of Ancient Life.
So fossils, anything useful?
Well, he sees signs of decay, but also little traces of the Eloi having been there, broken fossils strung on reeds. Simple stuff. But also signs that cases have been moved by the Morlocks, he guesses. They come up here too.
And the gallery goes deeper.
Yeah, slopes down into darkness. And as he goes further, the dust gets thinner, and he sees small, narrow footprints.
Morlocks.
Yep. His sense of the immediate presence of the Morlocks revives. He hears their peculiar pattering sounds again.
But he finds something useful first. A weapon.
He does. He spots a heavy metal lever sticking out of some ruined machine. Not unlike those in a signal box, he says. He manages to snap it off.
Instant weapon.
A mace in my hand, more than sufficient for any Morlock skull. He feels this urge, this need to kill them, his own warped descendants, finds it impossible to feel any humanity in the things.
But he doesn't go after them then.
No. Reluctance to leave Weena and fear for his machine. It holds him back. It's a strange feeling, he admits. Very inhuman, you may think, to want to go killing one's own descendants.
Talk about complicated family issues. Okay, so he has a weapon. What about fire?
Bingo. Even better. He finds a chemistry gallery, surprisingly well preserved, and inside an airtight case, a box of matches.
No way. After 800,000 years.
But miraculously, they are perfectly good. He is ecstatic. Realizes he has a powerful weapon now. He yells, "Dance," to Weena, and does this little composite dance right there in the Dusty Museum. Pure relief and triumph.
That's amazing. Anything else?
Yes, he also finds a jar of camphor, hermetically sealed. Knows it's flammable, will burn with a good bright flame, an excellent candle. Pockets that too. Marvels at its survival.
Does he find explosives? For the Sphinx stores.
He looks. Finds some dynamite cartridges in a model of a tin mine, but they're just dummies. No luck there. Still, he leaves the museum greatly elated. He's armed now. Mace, matches, camphor.
Okay, so he's got supplies.
Yeah.
What's the plan now?
He leaves the palace before sunset, heads towards some woods he'd avoided before, plans to build a big fire, sleep safely beside it. He thinks about how rare fire must be now, with no humans needing it, climate's mild. The art is lost.
So his fire will be a big deal.
Huge. It's new and strange even to Weena. He gathers sticks, dry grass. Weena's tired, scared of the dark woods, and as night falls, the Morlocks come.
From the darkness?
Yeah, making their peculiar cooing sounds. He feels their soft little hands touching him, touching Weena.
He uses the matches.
Yeah, strikes matches, scares them off, sees their white backs in flight. But then he turns back to Weena, and she's just lying there, clutching my feet and quite motionless.
Oh no! Is she?
He's terrified, lights the camphor, it flares up, drives the Morlocks and shadows back, tries to revive Weena, but she lay like one dead. He can't even tell if she's breathing.
God, how awful. What does he do?
He frantically builds up the bonfire, pulling down branches, makes this huge, choking, smoky fire. And then he sees something truly weird and horrible. Worse than before.
The whole hillside is lit up by the fire's reflection.
Yeah.
And there are dozens of Morlocks, maybe 30 or 40, dazzled by the light and heat, just stumbling around blindly.
Blinded by the fire.
Completely blundering about. He hits a few with his metal bar at first, but then he stops. He sees their absolute helplessness and misery in the glare.
So he just watches them.
Spends the whole night watching this strange, incredible company of blind things, stumbling, making weird noises. He feels like it's a nightmare, tries to wake himself up, sees some of them actually blunder into the flames.
Yeah.
Horrible. What a night. What happens at dawn?
At dawn, the Morlocks are gone. He realizes his foot is injured, maybe twisted it, or the loose heel from his shoe, throws his shoes away, and he descends into the woods, alone.
So Weena, she didn't make it.
The text implies she perished. Maybe the shock, the smoke, the fire. He's clearly grieving later. It's tragic.
Really tragic. He sees other Eloi later, right?
Yeah, dancing mindlessly in the daylight. And he thinks again about the Morlocks eating them. Feels pity, calls the Eloi a mere feeble rill from the great flood of humanity. Just fatted cattle.
Does he try to justify it?
He tries to look at it scientifically. Says the human taboo against cannibalism isn't actually deep-seated. Argues the Morlocks are less human than ancient cannibals. Says the Eloi's lost intelligence makes their fate less a torment.
Yeah.
It's a pretty chilling attempt at rationalization.
Yeah, detachment as a coping mechanism, maybe? So after all that horror, he finally goes back to the Sphinx.
Right. Sleeps exhausted on a hill first. Then, the next evening, approaches the White Sphinx at sunset. He's ready with his battering ram plan to break down the bronze doors.
Wow.
But Most unexpected thing. The bronze panels are already open, slid down into grooves. All his elaborate preparations for the siege, totally pointless. Like a meek surrender, he says.
Why were they open? Did the Morlocks give up?
Not exactly. He finds the time machine inside the pedestal, but he notices it's been carefully oiled and cleaned.
Oiled and cleaned.
Yeah, he suspects the Morlocks were trying to figure it out. Maybe even took it apart and put it back together.
Okay, that's weird. Why would they do that and then leave the doors open?
Then it hits him. The chilling reason. It wasn't surrender, it was a trap. They wanted him to go inside.
Oh, to trap him in there with the machine?
Exactly. He feels confident, though, even chuckled gleefully, thinking he knows their plan.
Oh.
But just as he reaches for the machine, slam. The panels slide back up, plunging him into total darkness.
Are the trap springs, are they in there with him?
Oh, yeah. They come towards him immediately. He hears their murmuring laughter. He reaches for his matches, thinking, okay, blind them, jump on the machine, escape. But the fatal mistake.
Yeah.
His matches light only on the box, and he left the box behind in the museum.
Oh, no, that's disastrous.
All his calm evaporates. It's a desperate struggle in the dark. Morlocks all over him, grabbing with persistent fingers. He's fighting frantically to get to his levers, feeling for the controls, has to butt in the dark with his head to get one lever back they were trying to pull off. He says it was a nearer thing than the fight in the forest.
Can he get away?
He manages it, slams the lever back into place, pulls it down hard. The clinging hand slipped from me. Darkness falls from his eyes.
Yeah.
And he's back in the chaos of time travel.
Escaped, but he's in bad shape.
Yeah, injured, unwell, and confused. Not even sitting properly, just clinging on. And in his panic and confusion, he pushes the levers the wrong way.
Not back to his own time.
Forward, way, way forward. Vast, unimaginable distances into the future.
Where does he end up this time?
On a sloping beach. Desolate. The sea is silent, just an oily swell. The air is incredibly thin. He's breathing very fast. The world is dying.
And he low.
Strange, unsettling life. A huge, white, butterfly-like thing flutters by with a dismal scream, and then a monstrous crab-like creature, huge, as large as yonder table, many legs, big claws, long antennae, stalked eyes, horrible. More giant crabs appear as he hops forward a bit more in time.
Giant crabs and weird butterflies. Grim.
And it gets worse. He sees the sun dimming, an eclipse starts, a concavity, a bay appearing in its edge, getting bigger, maybe Mercury crossing it, he thinks.
Only climate?
Freezing. A biting wind starts, showering white flakes, maybe snow, maybe something else. The stillness is overwhelming. All the sounds of man, all that was over. The sky goes absolutely black. Only pale stars alone were visible. Total silence and darkness.
How does he even survive that?
He thinks he must have passed out on the machine, just drifted through the final stages of Earth's life. The next thing he remembers clearly is the return journey starting.
Finally heading home?
Yeah. The blinking succession of the days and nights starts again, faster and faster. Sun turns golden again, sky blue. He can breathe easier.
Familiar sights.
The land flows back beneath him. The shapes become recognizable. Dials spin backward. He sees architecture he knows. Slows down carefully as the million dial hits 0, and he lands back in his laboratory.
He made it. Back home.
Back home. Limping from his heel injury, sorely begrimed. Sees a Pall Mall Gazette newspaper, confirms the date, the same day he left. Time's about 8 p.m. Hears voices, plates clinking, smells dinner cooking. The ordinary world.
Must have been overwhelming.
Feels sick and weak at first, then manages to pull himself together and walk into the dining room where his guests are still waiting.
And he tells them everything.
Tells them the whole incredible story, finding it almost hard to believe himself that he's back in his old familiar room, talking about giant crabs and Morlocks.
And the guests' reaction? Predictable, I guess?
Pretty much. Mostly disbelief. They call it a lie or a prophecy, a dream. Maybe just a really good story he made up. The editor even says, what a pity it is you're not a writer of stories.
But he has proof, doesn't he?
He does. Tangible proof. He points to the withered white flowers Weena gave him, still in his pocket.
The flowers.
And the half-healed scars on his knuckles, from punching the bushes near the Sphinx. Real physical marks.
Does anyone check the flowers?
The medical man looks closely, says, the Janesium's odd. Admits he doesn't recognize the natural order of these flowers. The psychologist, ever the scientist, wants a specimen.
So some cracks in their disbelief.
Maybe slight cracks, but they still leave mostly unconvinced. Then the time traveler pulls the narrator aside into the corridor.
To show him.
The machine itself, it's there. Squat, ugly and askew, a thing of brass, ebony, ivory, and translucent glimmering quartz.
And it looks like it's been somewhere.
Definitely. The narrator touches it, it's solid. And it has brown spots and smears upon the ivory, and bits of grass and moss upon the lower parts, and one rail bent awry, exactly matching the story of the rough landing.
Proof positive.
The time traveler just tells him, "The story I told you was true." And the narrator remembers. Something weird did happen when he vanished. The servant swore he never saw him leave the house.
So the narrator believes him.
Seems to. He stays behind, hoping his friend will